And a happy Wednesday afternoon to you. 85 days away until the start of the NFL season. I'm Amanda Guerra with you. So minicamps, they're underway. And our Josina Anderson, she has been busy making her way around the Northeast today, seeing what the Jets are up to. The Jets with a 4-13 record in Zach Wilson's rookie season. The team hoping he can make some big strides in year two. Well, this offseason, the Jets not really making a huge splash overall, but they did get A's across the board for their draft, including an A from our own Pete Frisco. So let's welcome in the one and only Josina Anderson. She got the bright clothes memo today. We're looking good, girl. Hopping around yesterday, you were at the Browns. Today, the Jets. What are some of your biggest takeaways so far?
Well, just in coming here to Florham Park, New Jersey, and getting an opportunity to spend some time with the Jets, albeit it's been a little bit of a while. But the difference now, why we're here, is because there is some optimism and some positive vibes that are around this team. I think that are just kind of still on the heels of that incredible draft that they had in April, adding some really key pieces. Obviously, you have the lore from their head coach and Robert Saleh, the energy that he brings, and just collecting that with the new personnel that they add. You can't help but notice that, on the field and feel that energy. I mean, we're talking to guys like Sauce Gardner, obviously, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, even some of the folks that they brought over in free agency, and Jordan Whitehead and CJ Uzomah and Laken Tomlinson and Tyler Conklin or what have you. These guys have some really interesting pieces. And when you think about a team like the Bengals, who prior to being in the Super Bowl this past season, having 4 wins the year before, and then being able to go from that to 10 wins, winning the AFC North, and then getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, this is what I've been asking the guys around here. It kind of begs the question, can this team with this added firepower and the energy that their head coach bring that sort of turnaround this season? And I think that's why you're seeing the national media out here, the renewed kind of interest, from the national media perspective around this team. I think it's just very exciting.
All right, so they had the great draft. You have this optimism. You can look at a team like the Bengals and say, hey, we can do that. But look, the Jets haven't made the postseason since 2010. They have had one winning season since then. So how do they put all that together and actually improve on last year's record?
Well, you're obviously starting with the quarterback in Zach Wilson. This team is going to ebb and flow with his maturation curve, and there's quite a lot for him to learn from last year in his rookie experience. And also, there were times when he was on the sideline and having to watch, his backup, Mike White, perform and then not perform, and kind of going through that as well. But this is a crucial year for him to make that step. One of the things that they did was try to reduce the amount of voices in his ear from last year compared to this year, just making sure that that's the quarterback coach and also his offensive coordinator and Mike LaFleur and Rob Calabrese, and obviously just trying to streamline the communication and taking that next step in terms of how he's commanding the offense, introducing some of these new pieces as well, dealing with some of the youth that he has at wide receivers, although a lot of potential there, and then trying to extrapolate from the veteran wisdom in a wide receiver kind of like Corey Davis, and just continuing to assimilate into this offense and building into that next step. I mean, when you look about the potential around this team, everything is going to kind of flow with how he does. I think it'll be very interesting to see not only how he manages when things are going good, but also when things are not going that well. That's why I asked him during the press conference that he had about an hour ago, what are some of the things that he's taken away from not just his experience while he's here, but away from the field that will kind of feed into his ability to handle pressure and handle adversity in this market. And he basically said that, he hears the noise outside, that although no one knows what's going on, he said, outside of this building, but just, some of the haters and some of the doubts that is around him, he's trying to use that to fuel him, obviously build on those expectations and carry this team.
I know you were able to talk to Robert Saleh one-on-one today. We're going to hear a little bit more of that later this hour. He did address, though, Zach Wilson. Here's some of what he had to say.
No, it is, guys. He had, obviously, it's well documented. He had a rough rookie year. I mean, we all did. I did, including myself. So You know, just in terms of growing, people are forgetting that he's got a young offensive supporting cast. His receivers are young, his backs are young, the O-line is just gelling together. He's young. And so for Zach, really, it's just to continue to progress and becoming the starter that a starting quarterback and moving in the direction that we all know that he's capable of. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady this year. He doesn't need to be, now if he ends up being that, that's awesome, but that's not the expectation for him. The expectation is for him to continue to climb that mountain that's quarterback play in this league. And we all got his back, and he's got a supporting cast that's working its tail off, and from there it's just piecing it together.
So, Jojo, we're hearing from Robert Saleh there saying, look, he doesn't have to be Tom Brady. If he is Tom Brady, that's going to be great. I know you were able with the media to talk to Zach Wilson and also Robert Saleh. Anything more that you're hearing from these two about what we can actually expect from Zach Wilson this upcoming season?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I was having a conversation with one of the media members here, and one of the things, I won't say who it was, but he was just pointing out, you know, that Zach Wilson is still young. And the comment that I had back to that person was, but he's not paid like he's young. You know what I'm saying? And so the expectation is still there for him, regardless of the fact that he's still in his young 20s. And the other thing to consider for this team, and I did pose that question to Robert Saleh, is, you know, you want him to obviously be healthy and to sustain throughout the season. But when you analyze the quarterback depth of this team and having Joe Flacco at 37, behind Zach Wilson, and then you have Mike White, who's 27 and had that good game for 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns against the Bengals, and I think 2 games after that had a little bit of a low point with the 4 interception game. You know, I believe it was against the Bills after that. You know, what are you looking at as far as shoring up, you know, just in case something happens to Zach Wilson, especially when there are teams looking at a Baker Mayfield and what have you. And Robert Saleh was very firm in telling me that they feel very comfortable with the quarterback depth that they not only have here, but the influence that Flacco is having on someone who is young and still trying to develop their voice, still trying to develop themselves at the line of scrimmage. And Zach Wilson and what the consideration would be if you did bring in someone like that, and whether Zach Wilson can handle that, which is a separate topic. But, you know, those are some of the things as you analyze this team, because everything looks great when everyone's 0-0 in the preseason and there's a lot of optimism. But those are the things that you deal with in the course of the season, is attrition, and whether not only the quarterback is ready to handle those ebbs and flows, but is the team prepared to handle, you know, the attrition at the most critical position as well.
Josina, talk to me a little bit about Mekhi Becton, of course, number 11 overall pick in 2020, showed promise there as a rookie, had an MCL injury in week 1 this past season, ruled him out for all of it. What's the update on him?
Yeah, very interesting, because obviously not only do you need Zach Wilson to perform well, but obviously the guy protecting him on the blind side at left tackle, and you mentioned Mekhi Becton there, who had that knee injury in the season opener last year, didn't play the rest of the regular season and missed most of the spring practices here, obviously showed up for mandatory, but coach let us know that we're not expected to see him until training camp as far as those practices. But while Mekhi Becton was out, George Fant was able to step up in his stead over on the left side, and so that position is open for competition between those two, because what coach is trying to highlight is that he wants people to honor and recognize the work, despite Mekhi Becton's pedigree, the work that George Fant did protecting Zach Wilson on that outside. So it will be a competition there, and I did ask coach about how he's balancing setting performance targets for Mekhi Becton to keep him incentivized and keep him engaged and getting back in football shape, while also managing, you know, the work that George Fant did. So that will be something that we'll be keeping an eye on when we all come back after this break for the July training camp, right? Just to kind of see how that develops out there. But right now, obviously, just trying to get himself back in football shape, not just in being out there shape.
Look, Josina, positive, you know, report, I guess I should say, out there from New Jersey with the Jets. Look, it's the most hope that Jets fans have had in quite some time. What's going on? 4-13. They haven't been in the postseason since 2010. What do you feel like are your realistic expectations for the Jets heading into this season?
Well, you know, in getting ready to, you know, prepare to come here for the Jets, I was reading this report about how a lot of people, and I did ask the head coach about this out the gate. I'm not so much sure how much he appreciated that, but I had to ask him because I think it's interesting that a lot of people around the country are placing their bets on this team to win the Super Bowl. And so I think that's something to harness and try to feed into. And it's not just, oh, shoot, what's next or can we handle this, but more of a mentality about why.
Look, we got to the end of our report almost, but you talked about it there, the hope of Josina Anderson. It looks like we had a little bit of technical difficulties with her there. But taking a look at the Jets schedule, it is a little bit difficult there off the top, facing the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Steelers. You heard Josina talk a lot about the hope that Jets fans saw with what the Bengals were able to do in Joe Burrow's second year there, hoping maybe they can have the same from Zach Wilson, along with the incredible draft that they had.
Chris Hassel here on HQ. A lot going around minicamps all over the NFL, and today we had yet another record deal. Minkah Fitzpatrick, now the highest paid safety of all time in the National Football League. Fitzpatrick getting a 4-year extension worth $18.4 million per year, according to our Jonathan Jones. And it's the first big move for their new general manager, Omar Khan, who took over as GM from Kevin Colbert last month. Fitzpatrick supplanting Jamal Adams as the highest paid safety in the NFL. He'll make nearly $1 million more per year than Adams, although Pete Prisco has Minkah ranked as the 7th best safety in the league in his list of the top 100 players in the NFL, which you can find at CBSSports.com. Minkah, a 2-time first-team All-Pro, but he was not selected to an All-Pro team last season, though he did have a career-high 124 tackles. That was tops among defensive backs. Elsewhere in the division, Joe Burrow entering his 3rd season and a major candidate for a mega contract in the coming years. He says he's not worried about that right now, but he does admit that he is paying attention to the big money given out to quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson.
The market is just exploding. It's crazy, the numbers that these guys are putting up, and I think it's well deserved. All those guys are playing at the top of their game, and they're being paid accordingly. But I'm not worried about it. I like to make jokes about it, but haven't thought about it much right now.
Burrow still on his rookie deal, so he's only making about $9 million a year. I say only because when you compare it to the other guys, it's about 5 times less than what the highest paid quarterbacks are making. He will get his soon enough. Terry McLaurin wants his. He's seen a bunch of wide receivers get paid this offseason, and that's why he is holding out right now, not showing up at minicamp. He wants a new contract, and some have wondered if Washington might be willing to trade him. Ron Rivera answered that question today.
No, he's subject to the rules, and we'll go from there. But we give you guys a little tidbit. We've been talking with his folks probably the last week, and working on some stuff, and hopefully it'll be taken care of in a matter of time. All right. How much time? Don't know, but it's never contentious. I can promise you that much. So we're feeling pretty good and pretty confident. At some point, this will get done. Okay. When a player like this does make the impact he's made, and not just on the football team, but around the community and everything, you have to be able to take care of that guy so everybody understands that this is the type of player we want. This is how guys that do it this way, and so that's why. And I've said this. We're not trading Terry. We're everything we're doing is we're trying to get this done. And like I said, just to tell you guys, we've been talking with these guys for over probably the last 7-8 days. And we intend to do this because we believe in who Terry is for us and what he can bring to the table.
He has shown he is a top-flight wide receiver in the National Football League, especially when you consider who's been throwing him the football throughout his career compared to the other great receivers out there like Devontae Adams, to name a few. He's set to make just under $3 million this upcoming season. That's not even top 50 in the NFL. And here are some of the guys making more than Terry McLaurin. You've got guys that some of you may not even have heard of. Deontay Hardy at New Orleans, Braxton Berrios with the Jets, Zay Jones with Jacksonville. He's going to move up this list Question is, how long is it going to take? The Chargers led the way with 9 players in Pete Prisco's top 100. Khalil Mack, one of those guys, at number 43. They've done quite a bit to bolster that defense. A team that lost some heartbreakers last season. Went for it on 4th down a lot, and too many times came up short. They will 100% be expected to make the postseason this year, though they are in the toughest division. They also went out and signed J.C. Jackson at the corner position. But head coach Brandon Staley had this to say about Khalil Mack specifically today.
Khalil's doing great out there. I think from when he got here to now, made a lot of progress. He's the guy, as you guys will know, is he knows himself better than any of us. And so he will be ready to go. And, there's a long journey between now and our first game, but I really like the progress he made. He's been able to get his helmet out there, be able to get his cleats on, be able to go through individual on the side and start to build that wind and start to do some fundamentals. And our training staff has taken very good care of him, led by Damon Mitchell, Marco Zacconi, our performance staff with Anthony Lamondo, Jonathan Brooks, that group of people. And I think that's part of it, is him getting to know all the people around here that are going to help him. But I like where he's at. And the one thing about Khalil Mack is that he will be ready to go.
And put him with Joey Bosa, and those are 2 top 5 guys over the last 5 seasons in quarterback pressures. Very similar stats, almost the identical number of sacks and strip sacks for Bosa and Mack, who are 2 of the 9 in Pete Prisco's top 100 players. Justin Herbert, the highest-ranked Charger, at number 20. Bosa's at 23, and then it's Mack, and then J.C. Jackson, who they signed in free agency. Keenan Allen down there at 65, Austin Eckler at 79, and Corey Linsley at the center getting in there as well. The Titans working with Malik Willis in the red zone during minicamp. We've seen teams like the 49ers with Trey Lance, the Bears with Justin Fields, getting their young quarterbacks red zone looks in game action before they put them out there for a bunch of game action, like a starter, for instance. This is what Mike Vrabel had to say about it today.
Yesterday in the red zone, I thought that there was, did a nice job holding the safety's eyes and, delivering ball on time. It's hard, and I watched it again after we finished, but, it's hard in the jog through. We're doing the jog through to just get, these plays in, and so I think that the timing it's not fair for the receivers and the quarterbacks, and and that's on me just to try to take care of those guys. The closer you get to the goal line, guys are going to start becoming more competitive, and I just reminded them like let's just get these plays in, let's get them installed, and so I was conscious of the pace. We don't have pads on and it's tight quarters, and so I think some of the timing down there wasn't very good, and they probably shouldn't even be throwing some of those balls. I just don't want to create bad habits. But yesterday there was some really, really good, quick, decisive decisions in the red zone.
And he could be used as a runner in the red zone as well. He was a dual-threat quarterback in college, 47 passing touchdowns, 27 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 years. That was tops in FBS play. Jets hoping for a big jump from their quarterback. In year 2 for Zach Wilson, they got him some more weapons, and they think he will be better, but they aren't expecting anything Hall of Fame level yet. Here's his head coach.
No, it is, guys. He had, obviously it's well documented, he had a rough rookie year. I mean, we all did. I did, including myself. So, just in terms of growing, people are forgetting that he's got a young offensive supporting cast. His receivers are young, his backs are young, the O-line is just gelling together. He's young. And so for Zach, really, it's just to continue to progress and becoming the starter a starting quarterback and moving in the direction that we all know that he's capable of. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady this year. He doesn't need to be. Now, if he ends up being that, that's awesome. But that's not the expectation for him. The expectation is for him to continue to climb that mountain that's quarterback play in this league. And we all got his back, and he's got a supporting cast that's working its tail off, and from there it's just piecing it together.
And here are some of the pieces that the Jets have for him. They drafted Breece Hall, who was the top running back in the draft, and obviously Garrett Wilson went in the top 10 as well at the wide receiver position. So he has some pieces to work with, a bunch of young pieces for that growing team. Another young piece doesn't want to be written off just yet. Mekhi Becton heading into his third season looking to prove his doubters wrong. He missed nearly all of last season after getting injured in week 1. Listen to what he had to say and check out what his shirt read today.
Do you feel like people have kind of written you off already?
Yeah, and I don't understand why, but it's all good though. I'm gonna make them eat their words.
Big bust, his shirt said. He is trying not to be that big bust as you look at the projected offensive line. They're hoping he can get back out there full practice sometime in July. We are 85 days to NFL kickoff, and today we keep the countdown going by focusing on Stephon Diggs, who caught 230 passes through his first 2 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. That is a record, the most by any player in their first 2 seasons with any team in NFL history. Wes Welker used to hold that distinction with 223 in the 2000s with the New England Patriots, but Diggs looking for more in year 3. We are with the New York Jets today. Some more excitement there for Coach Robert Saleh. In year 2, they had 2 top 10 picks, Sauce Gardner, cornerback, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, hoping for more out of Zach Wilson at quarterback in year 2. Last season, last in all these categories. Points per game, yards per game, and first downs. And this is on defense last season. They weren't good offensively. They couldn't stop anybody on defense. It was a recipe for disaster. But Coach Saleh is hoping things will turn around this season. He's with our Josina Anderson.
Well, first of all, we are pleased to be joined by Jets head coach Robert Saleh for this interview. And I was out there, for practice with you guys, and I wanted to say that the optimism here is so palpable. You're already wearing that T-shirt, positive vibes only. What I thought was very interesting and just kind of getting ready to talk to you is how many people around the country are placing bets on your team to win the Super Bowl. So I'm curious how you feel about that and how you're harnessing that expectation around here.
I think they do it from a business standpoint because of the percentages. But no, you know what? It's all outside noise. You can't handle the outside noise. We have no control over outside noise. What we have control over is what you do when you walk into this building and what you do when you're outside this building and how you prepare to be your personal best. And over the last couple of years, I think Joe and his staff have done such an outstanding job of flipping the locker room and bringing in guys who absolutely love this game and love everything about it. And because it's hard enough to play the game, and then to be able to love the preparation of the game, that is not easy. And we got a really cool locker room, and it's fun to work with them.
Okay, and that's great, and that's all Coach speak too, right? But at the same time, you have to manage having those incremental steps, right? With also, why not us? When you look at what the Bengals did, going from 4 wins, right, to 10, and then being the 4th seed and winning the AFC North. So, why not you guys as far as the expectation that you're setting around here?
No, it's the same thing. You're right. Why not? The ball bounces funny ways. Can we be looking in December and we're in the thick of things? Absolutely. But all the focus right now is the first day of training camp, and I know it's cliche, but it's the truth. You never want to get too far ahead because we can't be in the December discussion unless we're taking care of our next 30 days in terms of how we prepare for the season. We can't be in the December discussion if we don't attack training camp every single day the way we need to, and then obviously preseason games and the first game of the season. So you just, as much as it's fun to look at the schedule and try to predict the future, you really got to stay focused in the moment, dominate your moment, and trust that you'll love the results.
And part of that too just comes from the personnel that Douglas was able to add to your team from the rookie class, and Sauce, and obviously Jermaine and Garrett, and some of the free agents that you guys brought in as well. I mean, can you just talk about how those specific players have raised the energy of everyone else out there as well?
For sure, you see it on the field. They're very talented. It's a dynamic group, and but it's young, right? And it's there are a bunch of baby lambs running around just trying to figure things out, and they still don't have their legs under them because they're playing with a bunch of 25-year-olds who are grown men in the sense of having an NFL program for the last couple of years, and even Elijah Moore, he's in year 2, and he looks so much stronger, like so different. Zach looks so different, and so the rookies are exciting, but at the same time, they've got a lot of hurdles to climb in terms of being the contributors that we know that they're going to be here when they peak out. So it is fun to work with them because you see them having a lot of aha moments and figuring things out as they go, and but they bring a lot of juice to it. They're fun to be around.
Yeah, juice is definitely one way to put it, especially in the New York market. Let's talk about Zach Wilson, because obviously this team is going to ebb and flow with his maturation curve and how he evolves. I want to talk about the little things, right, with him. What are some of the ways in which you've noticed he has improved when it comes to his leadership, how he's relating with his teammates, life management, routine management, some of those things like that?
Oh, it's all of it. So he's always been good with his teammates, but he's surrounded himself with people who are going to help him achieve what he wants. He goes and gets a nutritionist. He's on this weight program to kind of be able to absorb an NFL season. He's coming in on Sunday nights, working in the facility. If we have 4 days off, he's bringing guys in the night before to make sure that we're not 4 days in a row without throwing. Like, he is doing so many little things to prepare himself to take that next step, and it's really fun to watch. And even on the football field, where a year ago if he made a mistake, it was like no clue what mistake he made. But this year, I mean, he's beating LaFleur and Calabrese to the punch in terms of, like, I know that, like, I should have went there, and those mistakes are happening less and less and less, and he's getting a lot better. Thought he had a fantastic offseason. And I know, like, he's one of those guys I trust that's going to attack these next 40 days and find ways to get even better and come into the season full ready to go.
I'm curious how you feel about the quarterback depth. I know you guys have, obviously, Joe Flacco, 37, Mike White, or what have you, but how do you compare and evaluate that relative to what's also on the market in terms of evaluating every level of this team? You have guys like Baker out there or what have you, and what you're doing just to make sure that you are fully stocked with your best options.
No, absolutely. We love our quarterback room. I mean, obviously Joe Flacco the guy's a world champ, MVP. He is fantastic for the room. He's got such a cool demeanor, and he is exactly what Zach needs in terms of just. I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback not overanalyze or not analyze like the way he does it. He's just like I don't need all that. Just what do you want? What's my progression? All right, and then he plays ball. Like, he is very nonchalant about the way he goes about it, but so prepared, so detailed, and on top of all his details. Mike White is so underrated as a quarterback. I mean, the guy's in the Hall of Fame, right? Had that game against Cincinnati. And so we love our quarterback room. We love where they're all at, and we think they're all capable of being starters in this league.
And you feel like those are your best options relative to what's out there on the
market? For sure.
Okay, and then obviously people are talking about Mekhi Becton and, the fact that he's here, but obviously missed a lot of the spring and, hasn't been out there since the season opener injury last year. I'm curious, how do you balance making sure that you're maximizing his performance goals and also honoring what George Fant did, last season as well relative to that competition at the tackle spot?
Yeah, it is, right? Like, and all the hoopla that surrounds Mekhi with this offseason and him getting healthy. I do think people are forgetting and not talking enough about what George Fant did last year at left tackle. Thought he stepped in, had an excellent season. He's had an excellent offseason in terms of preparing himself, and really excited about him and coming in the training camp ready to roll. So, this is more about George than it is about whether or not Mekhi is ready. That's not even the discussion. It's about what George has earned. And but there is balance, and we do for both of them so they can prepare. Got to come up with a decision, and it's something that we'll be able to clarify here soon.
Last couple questions. With Garrett Wilson here, I'm curious, what has been his impact on Zach Wilson when you're talking about a guy who has that level of catch radius, how he accelerates in the second level? I noticed the things about Garrett Wilson before you drafted. I'll just say that. But, I'm curious how all that is impacting Zach. And then, too, on the flip side, on the defensive side, Sauce, of seeing him taking mental and physical reps even when he's not involved in a play. I'm curious what impact he's having on the defense, too, as a rookie.
For sure. So, Garrett, obviously, for both of them, their heads are are spinning, right? They're learning a whole new scheme. They're trying to get moved in. There's a lot of stuff going on for these rookies. But I do think for speaking for Garrett, you see the flashes, and then you see the coachable moments where he's realizing that it's not as easy as it was in college. Like the detail, the strain, the precision at which he goes about his business in terms of route running, the amount of work that needs to be done in the weight room. He's going to be a special talent. He's got ridiculous body control. He does have great radius. He's got unbelievable hands. But there's a lot on his shoulders, and when you're thinking all those traits, all those talents are going to fall back a little. But he's a very smart young man, and he's growing quickly. From day one OTAs till now, he's gotten better every day. And then Sauce, Ahmad.
Yeah, Sauce.
We'll go Ahmad until he makes a play, right? But okay. No, he's cool. He is long. Same thing. He's a really tall, lanky kid, but you don't see it in his transition. I mean, he's really good out of transition, and it's going to be the same thing in terms of power and gaining that lower half strength. But I mean, he's talking the entire day, which I love. I want him yapping. Just keep
trash talking
or
just talking like
both.
Okay, all
Both.
of it. Okay.
but talking about scheme, communicating with already communicating. I love his mental makeup, and both those kids are going to be really good.
And then lastly, talking about you, obviously you're coming into your second year here. I'm curious, when you walk into this building, what's the thumbprint that you see of yourself on this team? And then lastly, too, in terms of maybe something different that you're doing now that you weren't doing last year?
Oh, man. I don't like talking about myself.
That's all right. We do.
No, I don't know. I think the first part of the question would be a question for someone else in terms of I'd like to think that there's a positive vibe in this building in terms of trust, that everyone's going about their business, everyone's being evaluated equally, and that we're all being asked to do the same things. There's no favoritism. There's no you just come in here, do your job the way you need to, and enjoy being here. I hope, but again, I'd probably be a question for someone else. But as far as doing something different, it's I don't know if it's different. I believe messaging is pure. Messaging is who you are. If you try to change your message, you can become fake in a hurry. And I think what's exciting about this year is that the language barrier between coaching staff and the scouts and the players and everybody in the building has kind of dropped a little in terms of us understanding each other and even getting nonverbal cues from one another. So I do think we've grown as an organization, and we're moving into that level of accountability where I think the locker room is starting to understand, like, in a perfect world, the locker room controls itself, and the best coach teams are the ones that coach themselves. And so hopefully we're moving in that direction. I feel like it's moving in that direction, and we got a really cool group of people to work with, and so hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Coach, we appreciate your time. Of course, all gas, no break.
All gas.
All right, we appreciate it. Back to you guys.
Thank you.
Good interview from Josina Anderson there with the Jets head coach, Robert Saleh. And here are some offseason moves, at least the notable ones. They did lose Jamison Crowder at the wide receiver position, but they've done pretty well trying to replace him there with Garrett Wilson, a top 10 pick, along with Ahmad Gardner. Coach Saleh saying that they won't call him Sauce until he makes a play. And then they also added edge Jermaine Johnson as well in the first round.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.